pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call, please. We're going to have Gina taking the roll. We have our city clerk is out with illness. Our two aldermen are out, or one alderman out with illness. We have another one had a family emergency. So as long as we have Alderman Rucker online, we'll be good to go. So roll call, please.
It'll be on video, though.
Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Alderman Schuman. Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Rucker, can you turn your video on? Oh,
There we go.
perfect. We
I knew
have
there
to
was something I
see you
didn't have
and
on
hear
right.
you for it to be legal. Alderman Rucker here. Okay. Alderman Morose.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Osteen. Mayor Harmison.
Here. All right, we do have a quorum. So first, we're going to start off with citizens' communication. I have one via email, but for those that may want to speak, that this is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting days, the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens communications section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The mayor and the Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we do have one letter that was emailed today. This is from Candace Silverthorne. It simply states, for the Oasis at Lakeport to help with traffic, can they include a water taxi in the price of admission ticket to help keep traffic off of the bridge, ? Traffic may cause quite an issue with emergencies and ambulances going to Lake Regional. Thanks. All right, thank you, Candace. All right, has the board had a chance to take a look at the minutes of the Alderman meeting, June 6th, last Board of Alderman meeting, special meeting, regular minutes, the bills, and Alderman Hoffman, are all the licenses in order?
I believe so. I don't think I got anything from Tara.
All right. All right. If so, we do have, if anybody would like to approve the consent agenda.
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rose, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the consent agenda is passed. All right, we have two things tonight on our unfinished business. First, we have Bill 23-55, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, repealing Section 140.050 sales tax holiday and repealing Ordinance 20.34, referring the decision concerning opting out of the state-imposed back-to-school sales tax holiday to the Board of Aldermen each year. This is the second reading. City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
Yes, this the first reading was at the last meeting. This is just repealing the section dealing with opting out of the sales tax holiday due to state legislative changes. And if you have any further questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So.
Alderman Rose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen, which is absent. Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman. Absent. Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-56, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, adding Section 140.015, sales tax imposed on retail sales of adult-use marijuana, directing the application of the sales tax revenue to be collected for the purpose of funding parks and recreation and public safety services, such sales tax to be at the rate of 3% on all retail sales of adult-use marijuana within the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, which was subject to taxation pursuant to Article 14, Section 2.365 of the Missouri Constitution. This is the second reading. I believe this is you again, Gina.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. First reading was approved at the last meeting. This is just adding an ordinance acknowledging the marijuana tax ballot issue passage.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any more comments or questions on the board? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So move.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker. Roll call, please.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman? Alderman Hoffman?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen? Alderman Ross?
Yes.
All right, second reading carries. On to new business. First, we have a public hearing rezoning case 422 by Lakeport Village LLC. City Planner Carrie Patterson, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. First thing I'd like to bring your attention to is placed before you tonight was an amendment to the ordinance for this particular request. Section 2 of the ordinance referenced case number 421. It's actually case number 422. We've made that change, so when the decision is made on this request, it will need to be made with this amended ordinance as the ordinance. This particular situation and what we've got in front of us tonight is a bit atypical in that usually when we talk about something that I bring you, we haven't seen much of it in the past, but I believe that the board and pretty much everyone else has had plenty of exposure to the Oasis at Lakeport. The reason that we're talking about it tonight is because an amusement park of this type with outdoor entertainment on the lakefront is required to have an E3 or an Entertainment 3 overlay on top of its C1 zone that exists. Now, it does have a C1 zone. It is commercial. This is not typically, conditionally a rezoning. This is more of an addition to the zone. But basically, what this does is the entertainment overlay provides for the permitted uses of an outdoor amusement park and entertainment venue that will include carnival-type mechanical rides, arcades, games, food and concession facilities, outdoor restaurants and dining facilities, customary retail facilities, and other typical accessories uses such as bars, restrooms, souvenir shops, etc. The subject property will now be governed by the regulations pertaining to the entertainment overlays as specified in the land use chapter of the City of Osage Beach Municipal Code. The submitted site development plan will govern as the site development plan. So with that the case and the amount of time that this group has been able to view this, there are no changes in this request. Everything that you have seen up until this point for the amusement park only. Okay, so what we're talking about now does not include what some call phase 2, which would be the hotel, water park, any of that. This is only the amusement park, which is on the First Peninsula. Also does not include the 1,000 space indoor parking facility. This is just for the amusement park itself. And with that, we took it to the Planning Commission at their last meeting with a recommendation to approve, and they forwarded it to you with a unanimous recommendation to approve. I would recommend approval of this request with the enclosed development regulations and the amendment of the ordinance.
All right, thank you, Mr. Patterson. Comments or questions from the board?
I have one question, Mr.
Alderman
Mayor.
Hoffman.
Does this have anything to do with sound ordinances? Can they do concerts or anything loud out there? And is it governed by sound ordinance?
It's governed by this. The sound is governed by this.
Okay.
And that is listed within it.
All right. Anyone else up here? Alderman Rose.
I've got a few questions, Carrie. I don't know if we need to wait for the answers or not. I'm curious, looking at this diagram of the listing of the items of different recreational things are going to be there. I'm looking at Street Fighter number 10. Do you know what that is?
Type of ride.
I'm sorry? I'm
Yeah,
sure it's a
the
ride.
guys that are here, that is one of the rides, and the gentlemen that are here can explain the individual rides to you if you would like them to.
Okay,
But that is a carnival ride.
okay, as well as the number 11 boomerang coaster and
Yes,
and
ma'am.
booster. I mean, there's some, so, yeah, I mean, I certainly approve it, but I just like to know in the details what it is.
You gentlemen want to come tell Alderman Rose what those are?
Oh, Jeff's here.
Thanks, everybody, for letting us talk. This is Todd Schneider from Skyview Partners. They're, our partner across the site and the operator of the amusement park. But real simply, we do have a package that we can get to you guys for that shows kind of what each ride is,
Clarification.
even show the color scheme and things like that. Probably in the next, I'd say, 2 weeks, we'll have that together. But do you want to give a highlight of the individual rides?
Yeah, the Street Fighter is a pendulum type ride. It's a thrill
I'm sorry,
ride.
what, it is what?
It's a pendulum. So there's a donut that passengers sit on that rotates like this, and the donut spins as it's doing that. It's a pendulum. It's a thrill ride. You could be one of the first riders. The boomerang is a coaster that the guest actually goes up a hill and then it releases and it runs the track and it terminates and then it goes backwards through the whole track. So you
Okay,
go
then.
forward and backwards on that, and that's a family coaster.
Okay,
It's your kind of ride.
yeah, right. Well, I mean, I was just curious because there's some neat names, but I just didn't know what they were.
Yeah, we can provide a package with pictures of the rides and the
That'd be
names.
great.
So we're developing all that right now.
Thank you.
What I will tell you is from the perspective of the land use requirement that we're looking at tonight, we're not going to require that, what they have on there by name be, the rides that they put in. If something comes along that is better or they think will work better for the
course.
park, we're not going to say, no, we got to take that back through rezoning.
And the redevelopment agreement does cover a few of the details of that as well. Like that's actually in the redevelopment agreement that you've already approved.
And the
That's
Street
fine.
Fighter is actually called the Frisbee now. It's not even the Street Fighter anymore.
All right,
But I will say this, we do have 12 rides that we have a little bit for everyone. So thrill rides, family rides, and kiddie rides.
thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions from the board? Alderman Ross?
Just for clarity, Kevin, or Carrie, with an E3, the latest they can stay open is how late then?
It's not a latest that they can stay open. It's the amount by which you can impact the neighboring properties with sound. So there's nothing in here
'Cause
that
there's not live
says you have to
entertainment.
close at 1. But the level of sound that you can impact the neighboring properties, decreases the later you get.
Okay, so, right, I understand that the decibel levels, and I don't know what they are exactly, but, so I know that at one point in time, there was some time limit on it, but that was only because of live entertainment?
Backwater Jacks.
Okay. The live entertainment.
The amphitheater.
Right, but it was
We
that-
put a
but-
closing time on it.
Okay.
You can put a closing time on anything through the E3 overlay. I didn't put one within this because it doesn't have the same type of impact.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
All right. Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Anybody in the public want to speak on this matter? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to close public hearing?
So move.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second?
Alderman Rose, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, public hearing is closed. All right, next we have Bill 23-58, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, adopting an amendment to the zoning map of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, rezoning a parcel of land as described in rezoning case number 422. Again, Carrie Patterson.
Yeah, we just talked about this. This is your opportunity to ask any more questions or make a motion, however you would like to do it. We'll just remind you that when we make the motion to use the amended ordinance.
All right. If there's no other comments or questions, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Amended ordinance. Motion approved.
Alderman Ross.
Second.
Second, Alderman Rose. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. First reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-59, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 22.94, adopting the 2023 annual operating budget, transfer of funds for necessary expenses in the sewer fund. This is the first and second reading. Gina or Mike? Which
I'll take
one?
it.
All right, Gina, please.
Mayor, members of the board, this is a budget amendment. There's four items, and if you have specific questions, the reason I'd put Mike on there is he can answer the specific. Equipment rental for repair of system for some equipment rental for sewer. Repair of system is then net zero difference on that. Odor control, adding funds to go back to some chemical testing and for product. As you know, we had ceased that this year's budget. And then some machinery and equipment. The net increase to the sewer fund is $27,000. There is unrestricted funds available to that, so I don't have any cash flow issues with this request.
All right. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rose.
This odor control, is that, I saw the picture, is that just for one unit? Or is that for how many? Do you have any, Michael, can you answer that?
So we're going to try and do some pilot testing at Sands and possibly some other stations. And the $20,000 is just in there so that we can do the pilot testing for some
So it's
additional
for one.
odor control. Yeah, we're just going to test it at one site. But if
Okay.
it works, then we will look at budgeting for it at multiple sites in the future.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else on the board?
One question.
Alderman Ross.
Mike, how long do you expect that test to last?
I think it lasts around 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
So it'll be less than a month.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. All right. Do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
First reading passes. Now, second reading, same bill. Bill 23-59, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 22.94, adopting the 2023 annual operating budget, transfer of funds for necessary expenses in the sewer fund. Second reading. If there is no other comments or questions, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve second reading.
Alderman Rucker. Second, Alderman Morose. Second reading. Roll call, please.
Alderman Schuman. Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen. Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-60, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, accepting Palisades Boulevard Street into city inventory. First reading. City Planner Carrie Patterson, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. So this is some cleanup. Typically, this wouldn't be something that, probably I would bring to you as it is a road acceptance. But in this particular situation, I spoke with Cole and we discussed it, and this is the way we determined the best way to go about this is. Palisades Boulevard is the road, the island road that goes between the KK Central Bank, the old McDonald's, and goes back to Nick's Hardware back behind them. The city has called it its own since sometime in the mid-'80s, we believe. But I got a call from Matt Dinky, and they had done the survey work on the piece of property to get the lot for Nick's Hardware. And when they did the survey work, they found that the right-of-way that goes around Palisades Boulevard was still considered his private property. In typical, when we take over a street, it's typically a right-of-way that has been platted and dedicated to public use. That was not the case in this particular situation. So I went back and looked at every set of minutes from 1980 to 1995 and couldn't find anything that said that the city took it or even thought about taking it. So we're bringing it to you tonight with a quick claim deed from Matt Dinky to the city to take the right-of-way that we have assumed has been ours since the mid-'80s. And with that, I would give this to you with a recommendation to approve the acceptance of that property.
All right, thank you, Kerry. Comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve first reading.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. First reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-61, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the expenditure of funds for promotional efforts to support the Lake Arts Council 2023 event support request in an amount not to exceed $3,000. This is the first and second reading. Mitchell Moon, Economic Development Specialist, please.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. Back in late June, I received this event support request for the Lake Arts Council. They are bringing down the Missouri Symphony to perform here in Osage Beach. Pretty well everything is listed out on your summary sheet. This fund originally had $13,000 in it. If you remember, we gave $3,000 to Bike Fest, so currently we still have $10,000 in this fund, and this fund shall be used for the purposes of supporting events that bring visitors, trade, and businesses into our city. And I believe the Lake Arts Council does have a representative here tonight, if the board has any questions regarding this request.
Thank you very much. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rose.
I just think it's phenomenal that it is just for our community to have this symphony here. And I look forward and just know that it's just something that we can continue to do this every year. Anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So moved.
Alderman Rose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
First reading passes. Second reading, same bill. 23-61, ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the expenditure of funds for promotional efforts to support the Lake Arts Council 2023 event support request in amount not to exceed $3,000. If there's no other comments or questions, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Actually, can I ask one thing?
Certainly, Alderman Ross.
So, since this is the first time we've had this, would you mind following up with us and tell us how ticket sales went and how it was attended and so forth once this occurs?
I would be happy to.
Okay, that'd be great.
I
That's
can
all I
write a
ask.
report or send an
Certainly.
email.
Yeah, just be interested to know how it
You
went.
bet.
If you send it to me, I'm happy to pass it on to
Okay,
them.
yes,
I
absolutely.
wish it was going to be.
That'd be great.
Be happy to. I
Thank
also
you.
have informational flyers for anybody that wants to come.
Okay.
You can just lay them there and we'll pass them out if you, after the meeting if you want. Yeah.
Very good. Alderman Hoffman, did you have a question?
I do, well, not really a question, but just a comment. 'Cause I kind of work in this industry. When do you start your marketing process for this? This seems a little late.
It was late. We didn't get the contract with the symphony until late. We didn't get the venue secured until late. So it is very late. We were supposed to have billboards, but those haven't come through. We were supposed to have TV ads, but the symphony didn't send us any clips to use. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this something you're hoping to do again next year?
I
or-
would love to be able to do this at Main Street Music Hall every year from now on. We've been at the Ozarks Amphitheater for 3 years, and last year they tried to do a fundraiser for us, and the premier performer pulled out, and that was canceled at the last minute, so we quickly had it at Camdenton Middle School Little Theater. But we would love to have it at a venue like Main Street Music Hall from here on, as
Great.
long as it works with Capital City Productions, who.
Yeah, I was just thinking, suggesting, next year, hit us up in March.
Next
But-
year it will be January when
Okay.
we start working
Awesome.
on this. Yes.
Well, good luck, and I think we're all looking forward to it.
Very good. I will make the comment that Main Street Music Hall, Mitchell and I toured that here a month or two ago, and that's beautiful. So if anybody gets a chance to go out there, so we look forward to it. All right, thank you very much. If there's no other comments or questions, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So moved.
Alderman Roche, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, roll call, please.
Alderman Schuman, Alderman Hoffman,
Yes.
Alderman Osteen, Alderman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Rose,
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Congratulations, thank you again.
Best of luck.
All right, Bill 23-62, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the purchase of private property for a shoulder improvement project on Bluff Drive for an amount of $25,000. First reading, Mike Welty, Assistant City Administrator, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. The Bluff Drive Shoulder Improvement Project is a project that we have budgeted. It's actually a carryover from last year. Unfortunately, we don't own all the property that we need for this project to move forward. There's an illustration in the packet there that shows the two triangles of property that we need. Those pieces of property are owned by a local resident, and we are asking the board for permission to purchase these two pieces of property from this resident for $25,000. It is a little bit more complicated than that, as I detail in my notes. I'm happy to answer any questions. I do recommend approval.
All right, comments from the board, questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Next, we have motion to approve the purchase of stock grinder pumps for Municipal Equipment, Inc. for the not-to-exceed price of $103,521. Mike Welty again, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. One of the first things we did when I went over to Public Works a couple of weeks ago is we just kind of took stock of where we were as far as inventory. Obviously, these pumps don't come in overnight. They take several months to get here sometimes. I have talked to our rep, and about 70% of what we're ordering is available to be shipped to us within the next 2 to 3 weeks. The rest of it is a month or two out. I do recommend approval. We need these pumps so that we can continue to maintain the system here locally. Thanks.
All right. Comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. All right, next we have a motion to approve the purchase of a 2023 Chevrolet Equinox at a cost of $25,681 from Don Brown Chevrolet off of the state Missouri contract number CC 222374004. Police Chief Todd Davis, please.
Mayor and members of the board, this is a request to replace a vehicle that you originally approved with the 2022 budget that was canceled and carried over to this year. It was originally a Ford F-150 that then got turned into a Ford Escape that got canceled on us as well. So we have been able to locate a comparable vehicle, the 2023 Chevrolet Equinox from Don Brown Chevrolet, and the police department recommends approval.
All right, comments from the board, questions? Alderman Ross.
Todd, what are we using the vehicle for?
It's a detective vehicle.
Okay.
It'll be replacing the 2007 Chrysler Sebring.
Right, and I was wondering, what are we doing with that vehicle?
It will
Is that
be
Mike?
surplus.
Mike, is that you?
It will be surplus, although I think it was brought up that it could be used as a airport, another airport car if the board would allow us to do that, because I think we have one at Lacey Fine, but not one at Grand Glaze. But what we told the board during the budget process was that we would be surplusing this vehicle.
Okay. Well, I don't know how that works. I don't know who makes that decision. I'll just say that it's come up before, and I think that the courtesy cars have been used well. This seems like a right kind of a vehicle, especially for it. So just one at 6 up here, but it seems to me like it'd be a good time to use it as a courtesy vehicle at the airport. Leave it at that. That's all I have.
Alderman Hoffman?
I was wondering what kind of condition it's in, because that's exactly what I was thinking, Alderman Ross.
Chief?
It's well used. It runs as long as it's started every day and maintained.
Does it have air conditioning?
It does have air conditioning. Sometimes the windshield wipers work on their own.
As long as they work when they're supposed to, that's what happens.
Once you turn them on, you may not be able to get them turned off.
All right. Very good. Any other comments from the board?
Yes, sir. Mayor?
Yes, Alderman Rucker.
Yes, sorry for not checking in with the attorney prior to the meeting, but I just discovered that this item and the next item that we'll be talking about, the board approved the purchase of these, and I did do a little research. It was January the 6th of 2022. My opinion, as not the attorney, is that when we make the motion to approve the purchase of this, we should rescind the motion that was made on January 6, 2022 that authorized the purchase. Or if the attorney can advise some other way, that we rescind those motions that where the board approved the purchase so that it cleans everything up.
Good catch, because the departments usually catch that, so I think that was probably a misstep. We've usually wrote it into the same motion.
Yeah, I think that's good form. I think this is kind of the conversation we had with the cleaning contract where, somebody should be able to track what happened through the minutes.
I think the
So,
department just missed it.
so yeah, we can do a cleanup ordinance on that. Or we can do a motion to.
Oh, you want to do that now, or?
Amend your motion, Kevin, Alderman Rucker, maybe amend, if you would make the motion or whoever did, approving this and amending the previous, replacing the
Perfect.
previous approved motion. That'd be clean and immediate.
And then we could put
What you just said, I make the motion of what you just said.
Okay.
All right, so.
Since I'm the minute taker, I know.
All right, so Alderman Ross made the motion to approve with rescinding the previous past
Approved
motion.
And that previous motion was made on January the 6th, 2022, under new business, item C.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. And the same thing on the next one, correct, Alderman Rucker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, next we have a motion to approve the purchase of two 2023 Chevrolet Silverados 2500 HD crew cab four-wheel drive trucks at a cost of $41,286, each from Don Brown Chevrolet off the State of Missouri contract number CC 222374004. Comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, Alderman Rucker, what was the date and time again on the previous? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike Welty?
That's okay.
Sorry.
First of all, I checked the January item that Alderman Rucker is checking on. It did not include the F-250s. It was the F-150s that it included. Now, if I'm proved wrong, I apologize. I will be happy to go back and look at it again, but I do not believe it included the F-250s because at the time I had mentioned that I still couldn't find two F-250s, and those F-250s that I couldn't find have now turned into Chevy Silverado 2500s, which is the same vehicle, different brand. I will check that, Alderman Rucker, to make sure, but I don't think those were included in the January request.
Just, I looked at it real quick, Mike, to be very honest, about 45 minutes before the meeting, because it was that late when I realized I hadn't researched it. There was something in the blue sheet about the two vehicles, but I don't know if it was included in the ordinance. So I'm not sure if it was, I'm not sure exactly the meaning.
I'm pretty confident. But anyway, this is a motion to approve the purchase of two 2023 Chevy Silverado crew cab four-wheel drive trucks. One of them will be used for the plow truck for the airport, for Grand Glaze specifically, and the other one for the parks. These vehicles are fleet vehicles that were returned to Don Brown and made available to anybody that is on the state bid list. And a big thanks to Chief Davis, because I wouldn't have found these if he wouldn't have been looking for the Equinox. So this is all his doing. But anyway, these two trucks that we found fit right nicely into the budget that we had already set up for the F-250s that we were going to get, and they serve the same purpose. They replace the two vehicles that I have highlighted on the maintenance schedule that is attached. I do recommend approval.
All right. Comments or questions from the board? And if I understand right, we do not need a motion to amend, correct? Based on your research, Mr. Welty?
That is correct.
Okay. Any comments or question on the motion before you? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second? Alderman Morose, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion approved. Last thing on our agenda is a motion to approve 4 outdoor loggers for an amount not to exceed $7,000. Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Alderman Mayrose, I think this was the picture you were referring to earlier. This is connected to odor control, but a little different. These are actual assets, so they have to be put in capital, which is part of the reason why that budget amendment that Gina put forth was done, because we did not budget for these originally. I'm looking to buy 4 of these. They are simple. They're simply manhole-mounted flow meters, and what they will help me do, or help the sewer department do, is identify flow at different times of the day throughout the week at different stations, which again will help us kind of nail down odor control issues, and also get a better understanding of how much flow we have coming and going from several key stations. So it's just a little bit of extra research that I'd like to do. The other nice thing about these is that they're mobile. So we can move them around. If we have a problem later, we can move them to a different station. We can get readings from other stations. It's kind of a really nice tool to have in our toolbox. I do recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Welty. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Ross.
So Mike, tell me, how do we get the information out of them?
They are Bluetooth capable, and they connect to a tablet or an iPad.
Okay, and we have those iPads?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so then once we get the information, so we don't have to go to inside the can to do so?
Just to install it or move it, yeah.
Right, okay. And so then, and we use that, here's the challenge that I have with this, and I'm not saying that, I don't even know if there's something better, but ideally, whenever we have high odor, we should have, assuming that this is the best approach, we should have chemical going in versus trying to guess when we're going to have flow. So is there any way to get a device like this that will manipulate the chemical dispersal in these tanks?
Well, if we go back to chemical, which I'm still not sure we really should, at least not the way we used to, that's all automated through a separate program that is connected to the actual odor control injection devices, and that's all regulated through that. It's kind of separately. But what we can do is we can use this information to help configure that and make sure that it is operating the way it should for the odor control.
So have we ever had these before?
Not that I'm aware of.
And so I guess that's what I'm confused about. If it helps us maintain the system better, no problem, but I'm not convinced, I'm not sure I understand how it helps.
Well, it's just going to give us an idea of when the odor is the worst.
But that's
from
going to be in
station
the
to
past.
station.
But that'll be in the past once we know that. Because until we go out there with a tablet, we're not going to know that.
No.
Right, so it's not going to feed it to us in real time.
No.
Okay.
No, we have to go out there and check it on a daily, bi-weekly basis.
Right. So we might know that on a weekly basis that on the 4th of July at some station, we got a whole lot of odor, and that would we even know if that's because of a high flow? Can we associate that information?
I'm not sure. I don't know. But I know that it will track odor, and I know we can move them around. So if we have an odor problem, at a station and we don't know exactly when it is presenting itself, this will help us identify that and then help us dial in whatever devices we decide to use for odor control and make sure that we target the specific times of day and make sure that we are, doing the best odor control we can during the times when those odors are presenting themselves the most.
So this test that you're running that we just approved, which I'm all in, apparently Jeff City's had some good luck with that. We talked about that earlier.
Yes, sir.
How would this information be able to help that equipment?
The two kind of work differently, so they would not be really connected. This is more for stations that wouldn't have those. Remember, we have 1,300 stations out there. Now, obviously, we don't have odor control in all of them.
Sure.
The two biggest ones are the ones that are going to be covered by the pilot that we talked about earlier. But when we go around, we had a situation at Ledges that we checked out earlier today. We've got a station that is tucked right in between two of the condo buildings, and we've gotten a lot of odor issues for that particular station. Well, I could go in there right now and I could just put chemical in there all day, but I'm gonna be wasting the city's money if I do that. If I know when the odor is the strongest, then I can control when we actually treat those stations and have a better idea on how cost effective we can be when we do that.
Okay. I'm skeptical. I'll just leave it at that. That's all I have.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, second. Alderman Rucker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion approved. All right. Moving on to staff communications and departmental update list. City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. First and foremost, I want to appreciate your time last week. I know Alderman Ross and I talked about today. It seemed like it's weeks ago. Really, it was not, but the holiday kind of threw us off. I appreciate your time, your engagement. It was a long day, but it was the 7th year that we've done that. I'm still working on the summary that I always pass on as a written summary to the board or to the staff or management team. Conversations have already started. I've already met with several management teams that kind of had some prioritized items that needed, to get moving pretty quickly. Then we're starting to plan for the budget already. I know the management team is already excited to get my list. I sent out some dates. I will do my best to stick to those dates to the majority of the board, and I try my best to arrange around management's time and schedules that time of year. So plan on those 4 dates, 3 with 1 alternate in case something would change. We will begin they'll begin their paperwork in August. So many of these items and priorities that you guys discussed are being considered and worked on. So you will have a little quicker update to me to some specific one and done questions that you all had in the upcoming, I want to say upcoming 2 weeks, because starting next Wednesday evening, I will be on vacation for 2 weeks. So I'll be back by the end of July, and we'll get working on, so you will have some follow-up on some of those other items. So other than that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty.
Thank you, sir. I do have one update on one of the items that I have my name by, and that is the private streets. So private streets, I completed those worksheets and forwarded them to the Special Road District. We discussed the worksheets at the last meeting. I was planning on bringing those worksheets to the board with some ordinance changes. Excuse me, and I just have not had time to do those ordinance changes yet. So I'm just asking for your grace with that project and with some of the other projects that I have my name by. As I am kind of transitioning to a different role, I'm going to need a little bit more time to kind of get some of that stuff done. Happy to provide some updated timelines for that in the coming weeks and meetings. But I just ask for your grace as I try to kind of do several jobs here. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question to Mike?
Yes, Alderman
Under
Ross.
Public Works. So, and this kind of ties in, but it's not really on the list, but emergency generators, how many do we have in the city?
We have 8.
And how many are functioning today?
2.
2. And do we have plans on all 6 of those that aren't functioning at this point? Do we have things in motion to get them up and running?
Yeah, so the other 6, we have a problem with what's called the ATS switch. And those switches are all bad. They all need to be replaced. This is part of what we put in the grant that we didn't get, the ARPA grant that we didn't get. Our plan is to kind of approach this a few a year and get them all up and running. I do want to caveat one thing, Richard, that I told you in our conversation earlier about this that I learned later is not exactly true, and that is what the ATS switches do is they make the process automatic. Mm-hmm. There's actually only one generator that we couldn't manually turn on right now. And I already have a company looking at it to see if we can get it fixed. So all of the other 7 or all of the other 5 that we have broken ATS switches on, we could pull up and manually turn on the generator, all but one. Now, that still is not okay, because when that happens, our guy in the middle of the night gets a phone call, and then he's got to drive in and eventually get to the station. And during that time, that station has no power.
And
all 7 of those stations have generators for a reason, right? They have to work all the time. So while they're not completely inoperable, they have no automatic on them. And one of them is not operable at all.
And just for clarity, these are all for the sewer system?
Yes.
Okay. And so what I think I'm hearing you say is we don't currently have a plan to have them in full working condition, other than maybe sometime next year through budget.
Correct.
To be honest with you, I don't find that acceptable. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but they're designed to do certain things and they should be maintained to do so. Now, I don't know if we need to bring that up at another meeting or something like that, but when I found out about this, I found that amazing, to be quite honest.
What is if I could, Mr. Mayor, what is you said the ATS switch, right, which is basically the automatic on switch for layman's terms?
So if Ameren power goes out, it's set up to automatically switch to the generator so that the station maybe just has a little bit of a blip, but.
Right, but you said you wanted to outsource this to have them fixed, right?
Well, yeah, we have to, yes.
So can we not make that a priority? Or, get, like, tomorrow? I'm not tomorrow, but let's not put this off. Obviously, the sewer is, I agree with Alderman Ross. We should move that up the priority schedule a little bit.
It's all directed by past department manager's request. So if Mike can go back to the drawing board and figure out where it can work out, where maybe Kevin wouldn't, then we can figure out a budget amendment and does that,
Well,
I would say.
From what I gather, we knew about this, we put it in a grant we didn't get, and then we stopped. Is that accurate?
That seems to be probably what the department did.
Okay, I guess what matters most to me is getting fixed, I think, from what I hear from the board. I'll leave it at that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. City Attorney, Cole Bradbury.
I don't have much for you tonight. I think I've shared most of my updates with you via email over the last few days, but Ron and I will be getting together to work on our problem child, and we'll go from there.
All right. Chief of Police, Todd Davis.
As many of, or most of you might be aware, after your last board meeting last month, one of our officers was involved in a head-on collision on the bridge. He's doing well. Our car is probably totaled. It was another wrong-way driver traveling this direction from the other side of the bridge. He's going to make a full recovery. He's fine. He's already back to work, was his next rotation. But I did receive a thank you note from just a motorist, and I'd like to read it because I think we don't get a lot of credit a lot of times, or, we always hear the bad stuff. But it says, to the officer involved in the head-on collision near the Grand Glaze Bridge on June 16th. My husband and I were moving back home from Missouri from Dallas, Texas. Of course, we got on the road later than planned, so we weren't set to make it home until 2:30 a.m. As we mounted a hill in the Ozarks, we found 2 police cars. We were taken aback. We slowed in my SUV with our cat and my husband driving behind in the U-Haul. I saw someone run across the road toward the crash, and my husband heard freeze. Put your hands in the air. I see. We assumed there had been a pursuit and spin out. We were completely taken aback upon reading the news that this car had been on the wrong side of the divided highway. We cannot express our gratitude and respect for your sacrifice. We were minutes behind the accident and it would have been us. Our family extends their thanks to your service and prayers for a quick recovery. After watching the body cam and the dash cam video, they were the next car.
Wow.
So they would have been hit head on by that car.
Wow.
So, it's neat to get stuff like that.
Yeah, that is
So-
neat. Thank you for, yeah.
But of course, the other driver was intoxicated and uninsured, unfortunately. So that's how things go. And as far as the holiday weekend, it was busy, but nothing major. So.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. All right. Building official, Ron White.
The only update I have, I don't have any on the list, but just to let you know that the building department has figuratively passed along the golden plunger. We have a janitorial contractor in the building as we speak, and staff couldn't be happier.
Very good.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cochran Engineering, Dave Van Leer.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick items. We do have a handful of projects currently out to bid for the city with bid openings coming soon. Those being the Veterans Memorial Project, the new bathrooms at Public Works and at the parks, and then some sewer inspection and camera work to be done on the system. Those were all projects that were budgeted for this year. Also, just ongoing design work on Osage Beach Road. As you'll recall, the design of that project was included in this year's budget, so that work is ongoing with the intent to bid that project late this year or early 2024. Also work ongoing to rebid the Sands project. There's been several conversations with that, and Mike and I have been in continued discussions there. And then just lots of inspection going on around the city between the various jobs going on. I believe that's all I had, unless there's any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Economic Development Specialist, Mitchell Moon.
Good evening, everyone. As Gina kind of highlighted to you guys in your strategy meeting that the board and the aldermen had, our office in economic development is working on a business retention strategy. Gina will get a rough draft of that very soon next week. And hopefully I'm hoping to get some more direction on that on Tuesday. And then hopefully we can prepare you a nice document sometime soon and give you a better update on that very shortly. One fun thing that is coming to Osage Beach is the Mo Heroes Connect program. So on July the 11th, Mo Heroes Connect, which is a program run by the Missouri Department of Economic Development, is going to be doing a workforce seminar here promoting this program. In short, Mo Heroes Connects introduces companies who are hiring to veterans who have recently retired from the military, which creates jobs in our area and fills workforce shortages. So it's a really neat program. Really excited to bring that here to Osage Beach. Other cities in Missouri have had success with it. And it just so happens the program coordinator is now from the lake area and he wants to see the lake area shine. So it's really exciting. So if there's any individuals listening at home tonight who are struggling with hiring good employees, consider coming out to Osage Beach City Hall here on July the 11th at 9 a.m. And a gentleman named Chuck will be here to talk to you about the program and possibly help you fill some workforce gaps. Last week, we also welcomed a new business to Osage Beach, so that was really fun to go to. The Sanctuary Brewery is just down the street here from City Hall. Please go out, celebrate them, support local businesses. And again, as we've heard earlier tonight, the Missouri Arts Council will be hosting the Missouri Symphony here in Osage Beach. So that's a very exciting event that not only the lake gets, but especially Osage Beach gets to host. So past that, that's about all going on in economic development.
All right.
And all new business license are in the CA report, monthly CA report.
Very good. All right, thank you. Human Resource, Michael Ray.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Just a few updates here. Loggers, we have received the actuarial valuation. What they're presenting is about 144 different plans that the city could decide to go with based on the employee eligibility, rule of 80, how much the city wants to contribute. So that information's gotten back to us. I'm currently trying to put something together for the board to help explain out the abundance of plans and what it would be, what the financial cost of that would be. Aside from that, I met with Gina regarding the employee survey. I will have something to her for approval to send out upon her return from vacation. So that'll go out to employees early August. And then the 360 feedback, I believe that we're going to go ahead and roll that into our normal yearly evaluation cycle.
All right. Alderman Ross.
So a couple things. One, is there an opportunity, or can loggers provide, or can we provide a comparison? So for example, today we put so much money in a retirement plan for either one employee or all. I don't know how you want to look at it. But will there be an ability to say, okay, if we use all the money, we could afford this and we would get X compared to Y? I mean, I know it all depends on what the employee decides to invest in. Okay.
Not necessarily. On loggers, there's a precise calculation based
Right.
on time in and ending salary and average months. And that also depends on what plan out of the multiple plan. But the short answer is, yes, you can take employee A and employee C and figure out what they would end up assuming a retirement age, years of service, and what their ending salary. So we're still diving in to understand, to deep dive understand our legalities, because there is an issue with the city already providing a 401 and how legally you can go back and buy back service. So that will be a hurdle that may not get, starting forward, we can go forward. Starting forward, you can say all new employees from this date's on this plan and you're forever. You cannot get out, you're for solid forever. It's going back in for the current employees and how you exit a 401. There's some legalities there that we will get to when we get to the middle of the spider web. But also to help answer your questions, my intent is once we kind of deep dive and get the answers we need, to have them just present directly to the board. Yes, Mike and I need to understand, because we got budget coming up and what we as a staff, what we would recommend to the board one way or the other, but you guys hearing it directly from the loggers representative. For those that aren't familiar, I know like Alderman Rucker's very familiar because he's been in that world, and so.
Okay, thanks. And then on employee vacancy updates, sewer department, I don't know if it's Michael or.
Sewer superintendent started July 3rd, Nathan Earp. So he's heading up that department now. We're still hiring for a foreman, and we're currently down, I believe, 4 technicians. We had 2 of them start, I believe it was June 16th, brand new, right off the streets, no experience. So they're in the process of being trained. And then we also had a water department technician 1 start on Monday as well. So we've got all the job postings out there, but the sewer department, we're still looking for a foreman for, as well as the technicians.
So we're 4 technicians short then, does that sound right? Okay. And then the electrician.
The electrician, we're still, that's posted.
That's an open, getting posted?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I wanted to thank you for the time you spent on loggers, because it's something I brought up, months ago, and it all may be for naught, but it is, some people had requested it. So I think it's worth the time to investigate, and there'll be plenty of time to argue for or against, but at least we're doing due diligence, or you are, in investigating, and so I do appreciate the time you're spending on it. Eric Gregory, Parks.
Just a few quick things. In the Parks world, Little League season ended in mid-June, but we're still right in the middle of our weekend softball and baseball tournaments. Pretty much every weekend the rest of the month and well into August, and a few in September, October. Happy to report that the Hatchery Road Drainage Project was completed in mid-June, and so we won't have the undercutting of the road going down the hill into City Park anymore. All goes well. And the Hatchery Road Paving Project was completed yesterday. So it looks very nice going down to City Park. If you're driving by, take a drive down, take a look at it. We still need to do striping and reinstall the speed bumps. The new PA system was installed in early June at the City Park concession stand. So now we have the ability to make an emergency announcements during events and broadcast music for the events. It's very impressive. If you have time, you'd like to hear it, come down and give me a call. Still waiting on the vendor to schedule installation for our park surveillance system. Also happy to report Water Department began trenching to install the water line down to the maintenance shop last week, which is the first step in installing the maintenance building bathroom that Dave mentioned. They seem to think they can get it done very quickly, and initially we'll have a frost-free spigot installed, and then after that, the bathroom. Did meet with a local Frisbee golf group last month, and we walked a proposed 18-hole course. My thought is, if the board approves, we're going to start maybe with a 9-hole course, see how that goes. The group's sending me cost estimates, which I'll present to the board in the near future for consideration. If approved, probably be constructed more than likely this winter with volunteer help, and won't be an overly expensive project, and would be one more recreation opportunity for people to enjoy in our parks. Other than that, I plan on presenting my proposed Parks Master Plan timeline on the July 20th meeting, and that's all I have.
Alderman Hoffman.
Do you have an estimated installation date for the surveillance?
Mike might have a better update than I would.
So we're actually adding surveillance to the park and both airports, as well as making some upgrades here at City Hall. The last I heard, those updates are probably going to happen in August. They've already been approved by the board. It's just about getting on their schedule. So I think
it's all the same company.
It's all the same company. Same company that we already use. It's Beischer.
One other question. Is the dog park, do we have a start date on that? Are we confirmed on it? Is that in your master plan? I just wondered what the...
That is in my master plan, and
okay.
We'll present it on July 20th.
Okay, perfect. I just wasn't sure that was part of it or not.
All right. Thank you much. The only comment I have is those pretty stylish glasses. Are those new?
Unfortunately, no, sir. I've had them.
Okay.
We look good in them.
That's right. I've not noticed them before. Very nice. City Planner, Kerry Patterson.
Yes, Mayor. No planning commission meeting this month. We didn't have anything for the agenda. Other than that, pretty much situation normal in the planning department. I will say we are very, very fortunate that there is still so much interest in our lake area. And there's a lot of exciting things that we're talking about with developers and property owners on a daily basis. I don't know how many of you get outside of the lake area very often, but it's not this way everywhere. So we are very, very fortunate, and I will leave it with that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right, Alderman Rucker.
Nothing tonight, sir.
All right, thank you. Alderman Hoffman.
A couple things. One, I want to say thank you to the police force. I was out a lot over the 4th of July weekend. Well, most of it was work, but I did see them respond to an incident down at Dog Days, and they were there quickly, and it was well handled. I just wanted to say thank you for the outstanding service that you guys have been providing. And to follow up with from Mr. Patterson, people seem to be able to find other options right now. COVID has moved on, so it's more competitive than it used to be, and I don't think the lake was as busy for 4th of July everywhere as it was in the last year or two. So I think these new projects and the way that we're moving forward and being aggressive and such as the Lakeport facility coming in, I think this is really going to help us stay competitive moving forward over the next decade. And I totally echo what Mr. Patterson said. Other than that, I really want to thank everyone who showed up at the meeting over at Margaritaville. It was somewhat of a long meeting, but very, very productive, and I really appreciate everyone's input.
All right.
And that is it.
Thank you much. Alderman Rose.
I've got a few things. Since Osteen isn't here, I think I've got a little extra time, right?
No.
No, okay. Anyway, first of all, in echoing for the police department, I want to thank them for their service, especially over the holiday weekend. Traffic was unbelievable, even though it may not, as you say, maybe not as busy. My parking lot, I couldn't find a parking space. I mean, it was crazy, and I was glad to see that. Above that, I wanted to thank the dispatch department. I had called in at the end of Jeffries and Parkway. I had observed one of the traffic signals was out, and that was in the morning, and by afternoon, boom, when I came back in, it was repaired, and thank you for that expedition. Also, Public Works, I noticed before the holiday weekend, gentlemen were out on the Parkway picking up trash along the sidewalks and going down. I thought, well, isn't that nice? I'm sure they've done it in the past, but it just really stood out because it was very, very obvious. The Transportation Department on Airport Road, thank goodness they went back. I think it was Monday that they initially put an overlay on the airport road, and I was there at the Y, and I thought, oh God, I hope they come back and do another overlay because this is horrible. Well, today when I went by, it was as smooth as silk. So they did a good job for the second overlay. It looked very nice. And other than that, I don't think we ever comment on owners of vacant ground. Maybe we do once in a while, that actually maintain it as far as mowing. And I see it so very, very often, every week. Gary Mitchell and his investors of Dogwood Hills, that it is just mowed, always maintained. You go down KK. Yes, someday they're going to develop it, but anyway, they don't have to. But I just think we ought to send a thank you or something, because that's above and beyond. That's a lot of property.
I will pass that on to Gary Mitchell.
You what?
I will pass that on to Gary Mitchell for you.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, yeah. Anyway, other than that, I just think that we just had a wonderful holiday. I'm sorry about a couple of the drownings that I did hear, unfortunately. But I thought it was interesting, just a little tidbit trivia, which we've heard before. Since I worked at the convention office, Visitors Bureau, I had a phone call this morning, a woman from New Jersey, and she said she wanted to get some information on the Ozarks and wanted to come out and with her family and rent a cabin, which you always hear that somebody's never been here. And she said, we want to stay in the area where the Ozark television show was produced. And I chuckled. I said, well, believe it or not, there were only 1 or 2 scenes that was actually filmed at Lake of the Ozarks, and the rest was down in Georgia. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're kidding me. And then I, of course, went into a lot of detail about Lake of the Ozarks, but I just thought that was interesting. It still goes on, yeah. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alderman Ross.
2 things. Any of our employees that worked on 4th of July, recognize and thank them. I'm sure there were several public works or police officers and probably some that I'm not thinking of. And whoever I missed, I apologize. Secondly, as a suggestion, I know that somewhere maybe in our strategic planning meeting, Gina mentioned, or maybe in a conversation, that we were going to relook at some of our holiday policy. When the 4th of July falls either within, a day, like on a Tuesday or a Thursday, I'm not so sure we shouldn't suggest that the Monday or the Friday become a holiday.
Our holiday ordinance already says, takes care of the Fridays for the Thursday, but nothing on the Mondays. But
Okay.
you will have a rewrite of several benefits, and I will add that to my holiday section, hoping, Mike, in fact, Mike Ray and I discussed our next 6 months, didn't we? With all our stuff coming up involving HR and stuff. I'm hoping to have any ordinance changes involving that by the end of the year, just so they can be by January 1 and we can get started. If they get to you sooner, great for us.
That's fine.
But
It's
that's
not
a
about
good
timeline.
suggestion, because the Friday's already taken care of, but the Mondays.
Yeah, I was thought there was something about a
Yeah.
Friday, but not a Monday.
Right.
And I'm guessing there were a few people working. I'm assuming that we didn't have much traffic in the front door on
No,
Monday.
there's certain holidays that you can count on. A lot of employees save back personal or vacation time. Any Mondays between holidays is a very popular one. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about from the general public.
Oh,
I don't think.
No doubt, there probably wasn't a lot of traffic. I can't speak for like the building department or stuff. I know contractors
I
still
mean, we have to
work,
balance
but-
that. We have to
yeah.
balance that. I mean, I'd love to give the employees a day off, but we have to understand there's
Absolutely.
citizens that we
No.
have to balance their needs. So assuming that there was no significant traffic, I think that would be a good,
Okay.
something to consider.
Well, note taken.
It was a quiet day here.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I only have a couple things. I'm going to end on a positive note, but I got to tell you something kind of funny, because on the 22nd of June, Kim and I were traveling up to Kansas City to pick up her brother and sister-in-law and come down here for a week or so, and get a call from Kevin Hardy, who's Kansas City Star. And he wanted to talk about the project, and sure, we were going up Highway 5, so intermittent service. But he had some quite concerns about the, as he called them, the condos. And I said, well, you're talking about the timeshares. And so I lost him. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll be on the Highway 70 in about 20 minutes. Can I call you back? That'll be fine. So in the meantime, I had Kim send him the email from Jeff Effingham,
Patrick.
That was a letter that they sent to, we had maybe 4 or 5 timeshare owners that approached the city and said, hey, we don't know anything about this. So he sent them a letter outlining that they've been in negotiations, blah, blah, blah. So I sent that to this writer. And so I got on 70, I called him, did you receive the email? I sure did, this will help a lot. And then he proceeded to ask a bunch of questions. I explained to him, he said, no, we're not doing eminent domain, and it just kind of set the record straight. And thought we had a great conversation. And then, anyway, I said, well, do me a favor if you would, because I don't get the Kansas City Star. Could you just shoot me a copy of the article before it's published? Never received the article. In the article, it said, the mayor of Osage Beach said they're not doing eminent domain, but that could be a possibility. Never said. There was a lot of things in that article that was just factually in error. And I just thought it was interesting, too. If anybody saw that article, go back and read it. One of the pictures, it showed this family, I think it's a family of 3 with one of the kids had a friend, but they're standing on their deck and they look all sad. And for 14 years I've been down here, and the developers are taking this away, and we love it here, and all the noise we're going to endure. And I'd explained to the gentleman, I said, most of the property is owned, by the developers, and it's not the city's job to tell developers they can't develop on their own property. Well, anyway, come to find out, after the article was published, those 4 lonely people on that deck, they're under contract to sell their property.
Interesting.
So that's done. So point of all that is, don't always believe what you read in the paper, what you hear on the radio, what you see on social media. But then I've got to give, here's the positive note, I've got to give Lake Expo and Janet Dabbs and Nathan Beckhold, I got to give them kudos, because they came, if you've not seen this article yet, it was just July 5th. Very fair article. And it specifically had quotes from the school board, quotes from the county commissioners, quotes from Jeff Tagatoff. It had factual information about all of the thousands of dollars that are going to go back into all the taxing districts. And it was just a very fair article. In fact, Nathan's going to be here next Wednesday, because I have a lot of other information I want to share with him. So for the public out there, I think it's real important that if you have questions or comments, feel free to call me, come to a meeting, but just don't believe everything you read or hear in social media or the news out there. So with that being said, I hope you all have a good evening. It was a great weekend. We had a blast down here, and Kim and I have a saying, it's kind of fun on a Sunday. We'll be, whether we're at the pool or on a jet ski or at one of the local restaurants, about 2 o'clock, we'll look at one and say, what time do we need to go home? And the other one will say, we don't have to go home. We live here. So love this place. So we're doing very good for the city folks, and we appreciate the input and welcome any input from those around. So with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn? Alderman Ross. Second, Alderman Rose. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Couple for the road, buddy? Oh, why not?